A Fairfax County mother is found stabbed to death in her bedroom and a man is dead beside her. It's a man she either invited or one lured there by her husband. That husband now stands accused of her murder. He says he was trying to save her, but the family's au pair says that's not true and she's already pleaded guilty to manslaughter. And here at the Fairfax County Courthouse, that's just the beginning.
There was never a concern that there might be a killer on the loose.
And yet, it is not as simple heading into trial as it would seem.
Wrap your head around either scenario and you're like, wait, what? It just is so weird.
It went uncharged for a long time.
That's the gut punch.
There are so many loose ends to this story.
The trial of Brendan Banfield is one of the most disturbing cases to reach a Fairfax County courtroom in years, and interest in this case extends well beyond Northern Virginia. A mother was stabbed to death in her own bedroom, a stranger lying dead next to her. Jurors will be asked to weigh two very different explanations. Prosecutors will tell them this was a calculated plot, while the defense will insist it was an attempt to save her life. At the heart of this case is the couple's young daughter, alone in her own basement while her mother was killed upstairs and her father's fate allegedly sealed. Add to that a secret relationship, a mysterious letter, months of delay before charges were ever filed in this case, and now wall-to-wall courtroom coverage. There is still so much we need to know here. And we're still curious why this 3-year-old well-covered case could drive enough interest for our insatiable appetite for true crime coverage. This is For More Context, your seat in the News 4 newsroom for a conversation about how we check facts, fight for answers, break stories, and hold each other accountable.
New developments now on a deadly shooting and stabbing in a Northern Virginia home.
How did we cover it when it initially happened?
I don't mean to be crass. We covered it like any other crime that might be covered. We knew that there were 2 people that were found dead inside of a home. We didn't know exactly who did it. What I found really interesting, when you do this long enough, Ted, and I know you kind of hear things the same way when you're listening to a news conference, is you can hear in the Fairfax County Police Chief's voice that he knows right away something's off about this. There was never a concern that there might be a killer on the loose. Everybody was pretty sure that the parties involved were all there and accounted for. And to your point, it took a really long time to secure an arrest and to secure charges in this case.
And the first arrest is who?
The first arrest is the au pair, Juliana Perez Melgahez. And she lived with the family. She had been their live-in au pair for almost 2 years. In an interview with attorneys and law enforcement present, she admits that she had been having an extramarital affair with the husband, Brendan, for several months leading up to the alleged crimes.
It's not all she admits.
That's not all she admits. She also admits that this was their plan for months. She does paint him as the mastermind. She lays out that they had been in this relationship sneaking around while the wife was sleeping or while she was working. And she says they took a trip, just the 2 of them, up to New York State together in the fall of, I believe, 2023. And during that trip, she says, was the first time Brendan talked to her about wanting to get Christine out of the picture for the purposes of them ultimately being together.
What is the prosecution's belief of how these 2 people were killed?
It's the prosecution's belief that Brendan lured Joseph Ryan over to the home under the ruse, under the guise that Christine was inviting him over to perform a BDSM kinky sex fetish. If you believe prosecutors, Christine had no idea somebody was coming over. And then Joseph Ryan enters the home under the belief that he is going to fulfill some rape fantasy desire that Christine has. So from his vantage point...
And in his mind, she is a willing participant in this.
If you believe prosecutors, Joseph Ryan thinks he's showing up there to a woman who is going to role play. And then Christine reacts. If you believe prosecutors, then Christine reacts in a way that any person would when a stranger walks into their bedroom while they're sleeping. Joseph Ryan thinks that this is part of the role playing and carries on. Then prosecutors say that the au pair and Brendan come up into the bedroom and proceed to kill Joseph Ryan with a gun and stab Christine multiple times, several times in the neck and in other parts of the body.
And that's what they're charged with.
Correct.
Their defense is they were protecting
their defense.
Christine.
Their defense is the defense claims that Joseph Ryan was showing up to the home, must have been at the invite of Christine, otherwise how did he get there? And that they just happened to see this strange man walking into the home. They went to check it out. By the time they walked in, Christine had already been cut by Joseph Ryan. They kill him to try to save her, but they're too late.
You've got two theories, as you often do in any kind of criminal matter. You got the prosecutions, you got the defenses. Either theory sounds kind of bonkers.
NBC's Dateline is covering this case as well, planning coverage once the trial is over. Marianne O'Donnell, she's the show's producer on this case, and she's been with Dateline for decades.
Now, wrap your head around either scenario and you're like, wait, what? It just is so weird. But at the heart of it, the haunting image of a 4-year-old girl standing in her basement, wondering why she's not going to the zoo that day. Why are Daddy and her au pair upstairs in Mommy's room? What's going on? And that's the gut punch to this story. A lot that's not said is the stuff that you can hear loud and clear. And in this case, it sounds like there was really, the police were confident early on, after the au pair was arrested. They felt confident that the au pair was going to flip on her boss and that all the truth would come out.
Yes.
That did not happen. I mean, it didn't happen. Months went by. A year went by. And we who'd been covering it were like, wait, what is going on? What?
Because what do we expect her to say, Marianne?
Because what we expect her to say is, hey, I'm an au pair. I just know about caring for a little girl. I'm trying to learn English. And here's this male employer who's making goo-goo eyes at me. And all of a sudden, we've got a relationship going. And I'm in love. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm being led down a garden path by him. And a path that I want to get off. But it's clear I cannot get off this path.
Well, but hold on. That garden path ends in a double murder.
Exactly.
I mean, no matter what language you speak, she had to know at some point it's wrong.
That is what is so telling in this proffer statement. It's, do you believe her? Or are you aghast at, like, how could you not at some point say, whoa, 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 no? And I really think that is the drama that is going to play out for really all to see in that courtroom if she testifies when this trial gets underway. And it's a question I ask myself as I'm watching this young woman give her statement. Like, at what point, what was the Rubicon? Where was the Rubicon that you just crossed and you said, I'm all in. I'm going to do this?
Did either of them ever talk about divorce or a separation or some other thing other than this alleged murder plot?
According to the au pair, there was a very brief conversation about that. The way it was portrayed, it feels that that's too, the way she described it, you think there would have been a little bit more time spent on that conversation.
Yeah.
But she claims that she was following his lead, that he was taking the lead on this. She wasn't asking too many questions because she had a lot of trust in him. Okay. She thought that what he was going to do, whatever he was concocting, was going to be in their best interest. And she claims that they both felt that it would be in the best interest of this young daughter that Christine and Brendan had together. And when it came to the topic of divorce, Brendan did not want Christine involved in raising the young girl. Now, if all of that's true, that's being said by a guy who's plotting a double murder with the young girl 2 stories below in the basement at the time of the murders.
What makes this case different than all the other criminal cases we cover?
It went uncharged for a long time.
Yeah.
It was 8 months before there was a charge filed. The characters involved. We've got a affluent suburban family doing well enough to have a live-in au pair from Brazil. Husband is a federal law enforcement agent. Murder mystery, a kinky sex fetish.
So what do you think eventually triggers his arrest?
So it took a long time to get his arrest. What prosecutors needed to arrest the husband is they needed the au pair to talk.
And she did.
She did, eventually. She got offered what some would consider a very cushy plea agreement to basically call out Brendan and to say that this was his plan all along. Now, maybe she's telling the truth. I don't mean to say she was coerced into doing this. She might be telling the truth. But she did get a really cushy plea agreement.
And it is?
She will get credit if she testifies against him and she completes everything that was in her plea agreement. She will be released after time served, which will have been a couple of years, but that's being an accessory to homicide. If you buy the whole story, she might have killed one of the people. I mean, these are very serious, very heinous charges she's accused of.
And she pleads guilty to manslaughter, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And as part of the plea agreement, not only will she be released, but she'll also be deported back to her home country of Brazil.
She will absolutely be deported. She does not have legal status in
the country. Do we have any sense of what Brazil will do with her? Will she be in prison in Brazil? That's not part of the deal.
That's not part of the deal.
And yet, it is not as simple heading into trial as it would seem.
There are so many loose ends to this story. There have been so many preliminary court hearings. I can't remember covering a case ever that's had this many preliminary court hearings about this particular piece of evidence, what this detective did, there's a mysterious letter that was mailed in anonymously that tells this other picture of the wife. There are so many.
Well, come on, tell me about the letter. Because the letter gets a lot of attention.
The letter gets a lot of attention. The question is, should it? The letter showed up to a prosecutor's office one day. No name from who. It purports to be an anonymous letter from a mysterious post office in New York, in the state of New York, where the couple lived previously, moving to Northern Virginia. The letter purports to be from a close confidant of Christine. And it claims, the author of this letter claims, that they were one of the only people Christine felt comfortable confiding in their past life up in New York State. And it goes on to tell this wild tale of Christine being involved in this BDSM, kink, fetish, sex life outside of her marriage with Brendan. The letter is off the wall. It is one of the most wild things I've ever read, but we have no idea who it came from. Prosecutors told a judge in court that it was mailed from a post office, one of the only ones in that entire region that doesn't have surveillance cameras. And it was paid for in cash to the penny, so there's no trace of a credit card for who paid for it to ship this letter. Wow. Whoever sent that letter took a lot of steps to send it anonymously.
And to make that puzzle piece fit the defense theory of the case.
To a T. It couldn't fit better. It was perhaps the piece that they had been missing all along. That, hang on a second, the wife was into this kind of thing. Look at this.
Yeah.
But it's too fishy.
That's not all, because now there are two homicide detectives whose work has been questioned. What happens to the main investigators on this case as it is heading to trial?
As it is heading to trial, the main investigators on this case are pulled off, they're reassigned, they are, in some cases, transferred to other divisions.
But is there any indication that they've officially been disciplined for misbehavior on duty?
Not officially.
Okay.
At least one of the investigators that was working on this case took the witness stand and said that he felt he was being retaliated against. It was not his wish to be transferred outside of his department. He thought he did a good job on this. He was told he did a good job on this. His work was sent out to a university. They looked at it and said he did a great job on this. And then he was transferred and reassigned. He felt it was punitive. He didn't want it. And he felt he was being retaliated against because, in his findings, he did not corroborate the theory that police and prosecutors are working with now, that Brendan created this online fetish profile to catfish Joseph Ryan to the home.
Why do you think it is people on the other side of the country would be interested in a case salacious as it is in Fairfax County, Virginia?
Well, first of all, you are selling Fairfax County, Virginia short, my friend. Let me tell you, my sister used to live in Fairfax. That's right, in addition to Houston. But she, it's a great place. It's it's densely populated. It tends to skew, above average income, I would imagine. You have a lot of people who are Beltway insiders who are living there. And you would think, okay, these are the people who have their stuff together. And yet, here we are.
Yeah.
And I think for everyone, we all caught into a story. Well, it's a story that happens someplace else. Like, that happens over there. That would never happen here. But it does happen here. It happens there. It happens everywhere.
Do you ever see feedback from viewers?
Yes, and I feel it too.
How closely, Marianne, do they watch these cases?
Oh, some people watch these cases as if they are working on these cases. Can I give you a case in point? We have
yes.
Dateline just had its own version of a, Dateline, Crime Con.
Sure.
Just for Dateline, people who watch the show. And these are people, they packed this theater. These are people who are not just fans of the show, but people who also follow these cases online and feel like they are investigating these cases as they are unfolding. So people become really invested in these, not just because there's something about the case that hits them personally. I also think they feel they have a duty to make sure everybody gets this right.
Give me a sneak peek. When the Banfield case is over and Dateline can wrap up its reporting on this, what do you hope we'll learn from your presentation that we won't necessarily get from the daily coverage of the trial?
Well, what I'm hoping is that we get inside a family to sort of map out what might have gone wrong here. What if it did go wrong? It may be a case where this is one man's absolute worst nightmare. I mean, one he couldn't even imagine having. And he is sort of caught in the eye of this, and he's fighting for his life and his freedom. Or it's a love story that somehow went terribly wrong.
This is a story that seems made for late night TV, but you've reported much of it at dinner time. How do you tell a story like this that involves a lot of kinky sex allegations without being inappropriate at 5 o'clock in the afternoon?
It's difficult. This is it's a really difficult story to tell. There are a lot of details that I wouldn't say we leave out. There are a lot of details that we don't elaborate on because they're just not palatable, especially at 5, 6 o'clock when people are sitting down to eat dinner. It's going to be dark. It's going to be evil. You're going to feel really, really sad for this young girl who's at the center of all of this, who at 4 years old at the time, you're as innocent as they come. Yeah. And she was 2 floors away from 2 people being gruesomely murdered. Her mom's dead. Her dad's in jail accused of murdering her mom.
Yeah.
Your heart's going to break for this little girl, and you are going to demand justice.
That little girl, the Banfield's daughter, was 4 years old at the time of these murders. She's now 7 and living with family as we approach this trial. It's hard to imagine the things she'll carry growing up in a world that knows so much about what happened to her parents on the worst days of their life. If you like this kind of context, and we sure hope you do, we hope you'll head to the NBC Washington YouTube page and watch more of it. Like it, subscribe to it. Let us know what you think in the comments. I'm Ted Oberg from the News 4 I-Team. You can find me anywhere on social at TedNBC4. In the meantime, I'll be here working for you.